slightly unplanned questions, but I just wanted to ask you a couple of bits and see if it kind of leads to anything. Obviously, you've had a look at the work around the future of design technology, or the future of design education, as we've coined it at Pearson. That was obviously a 2-year research project involving D&T teachers first and foremost, but parents, students, designers, engineers, sustainable designers, sustainable engineers, big companies like IDEO, the RANG, you name it, the whole breadth of the whole kind of design and engineering sector were involved as much as we could within that project. And we came out with an outcome that we felt was the next version of design technology, which was called responsible design and innovation. What are your thoughts around D&T? What's the future for the subject? What does it maybe need to focus more on in the future? What could it maybe focus less on? Are there any areas where you feel it could take a new direction or a new focus? What's your opinion?
I think it really is all about sustainability and the global challenges. I think that's where design and technology ought to be going. And again, I go back to what they're doing at the Royal College, some of the subjects there, working with people all over the world, looking at sustainable outcomes for their communities. And I think that's really, really important. What I do think as well is that we seem to have neglected this whole idea of vocational routes. If students want to follow a vocational engineering route, then those things should be available and not seen as sheep and goats as it used to be. A vocational route is for the less intelligent, etc. It should be a high quality provision, a vocational provision, not design and technology. I think design and technology needs to move away from this idea of designing and making a slick outcome and using laser cutters, etc., towards a more holistic approach, a studio-based approach that looks at the challenges of the next millennia and how we address those challenges through coursework, project work, integrating with other subjects, looking at the recyclability and putting those 7 R's right in the centre of the curriculum and working out from those to develop a programme of study. And I think that's how you switch all students on to the needs, because then you go back to food, whether that remains the same or whether that remains in design technology. You're looking at sustainability, you're looking at obesity, you're looking at global challenges of food production and famine. You should be looking at all those and looking at potential problems that you can solve. You know, you're looking at, even when you go back to the locality, you're looking at how much land is wasted in an urban area that can be used for all sorts, for growing meadow flowers, for growing crops. You know, what is it that we should be looking at and focusing on? And to me, and I'm nobody, but I think that's where the design and technology should be heading, without losing sight of what it always has been.
For those departments that have maybe historically or currently still remain very focused on the design and make, and the Key Stage 3 is essentially a model of design and make on repeat through different material areas, and again, without criticism of those, for those departments that might go, yep, that's where we are right now, how do they move towards thinking about responsible design, sustainable design, preparing students to make those responsible decisions in their lives through design for life skills?
Basically, you don't stop doing one thing and start another. What you do is then look at your curriculum documents and say, right, okay, if we've got this set of guiding principles from edXL, from Pearson, from whoever, let's look at how we can incorporate and change slowly, not change all in one go, change the way that we look at our design and make or whatever it is they're going to do, and let's slowly move away from all this project-based work to more holistic approaches, using our staff in different ways, looking at our locality, looking at the wider locality, etc. It's about stopping, thinking, again, go back to those 3 words, what, why, and how. You know, but we can't, well, it's obvious, isn't it? You see it time and time again. If people are not willing to change, design and technology will not be around in 10 years' time. Full stop, I don't think.
And I think it's interesting that you say about kind of those small iterations, those small changes to curriculum, like start tomorrow, start today, and start making those changes. It made me remember very quickly some of my friends, some of my teacher friends who, for example, one of them banned PVA glue, said we're not going to glue anything anymore. Said, as soon as we've glued two things together, we can't separate them. They started sourcing materials more locally from the local area rather than buying materials that were imported in from other countries or coming in through some of our docks around the UK to kind of continue that marine ply supply that we were having to manufacture products with. So locality, again, bringing back to that locality messaging, seemed to come back into play. There were definitely ways in which you didn't have to wholesale change everything overnight. It was very much a case of think about a local challenge rather than thinking about a broader challenge, or just having a generic bookend challenge and saying, actually, let's think about where this could apply to the local community, to a local charity, to a fundraiser, to a purposeful redesign, which I like. And I never realized at the time some of my teacher friends were really innovating in that space, actually, because they were already thinking about that evolution and that iteration of their curriculum.
And that's good. And that's how it should be. But what we discussed before, I would say the vast majority of country, it's not happening. Because you go into your own, safe zone, and it's what I've said, you do what you've always done and get what you've always got. Hence you go back to the gates thing, you might change it slightly, but it's that philosophy, and somebody has to take hold of the idea of looking at what design and technology philosophy is, first and foremost, and then designing a curriculum around that philosophy, because we can't just carry on making things like that when there's bigger issues. I sent you that link to the Liter of Light. It's one of the most incredible things I've ever seen, and that, if that doesn't inspire kids to want to change things in the way that they've done, I don't know what will, or staff for that matter. Every school should have access to that information. There's all sorts of groundbreaking stuff going on around the world, and that's what design and technology should be linking into. Also, and one of the things that I haven't mentioned, I think that we should not be working in isolation. We have the ability to work with other schools across the world. Why aren't we doing it in DT? So you've got different locales and you're designing for different outcomes. There is no way that we should be just looking at the classroom. We should be looking as well at the wider world and what their issues are, and how can we in our country help to solve their issues, and how can they help to upskill us and give us knowledge that we don't have. So it's that whole philosophy of what DT is that needs to have a bit of a change, I think.
Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you for the last hour and 45 minutes, I think we've been going, which is quite a long time. But thank you so much for your time and for your insights into the Key Stage 3 programme study and the discussion that we've had more broadly around D&T.